The Miami Dolphins just got an absolute gift from the San Francisco 49ers, and we have to talk about it on this edition of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. It has been well documented over the last 2 or 3 weeks that these second-round picks have not signed. There was only 2 of them, Carson Schlesinger and Jaden Higgins, the first 2 selections in the second round by the Browns and the Texans. And it was kind of a holding pattern for the other second-round picks because those first 2 guys we just mentioned got fully guaranteed deals. Well, we finally have that ice broken, if you will. Adam Schefter last night reported that the next domino in the second round has fallen because the 49ers have signed the 43rd overall pick, Alfred Collins. They reached their agreement on the 4-year, $10.3 million deal. It included $9 million in guarantees, so not fully guaranteed. And look at that note right there. Schefter said he expects this to now trigger multiple second-round signings. That could be the gift we're looking for here with Miami. Until now, 30 of the 32 second-round picks remain without a deal. Collins will have 88% of his deal guaranteed, a huge jump up over last year's 43rd overall pick. And this is big-time stuff for the Miami Dolphins. We put out a video just a couple of days ago talking about how the Browns and Texans doing what they did with those aforementioned rookies screwed the Dolphins. Well, now the 49ers could have just paved the way for Miami to get into the green, if you will, and have Jonah finally in training camp, in the building, start ready to roll under his rookie contract. And we will continue to keep you updated every single day on the Miami Dolphins. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're 196 away from 71,000. Subscribe, join the channel for the top-notch coverage of the Miami Dolphins. And you might be wondering, all right, why is this a gift, Nick? Well, another second-round pick being signed, as Schefter mentioned, could absolutely start a chain reaction, a domino effect, if you will, to where other second-round picks are like, all right, he didn't get fully guaranteed deal. It's probably just going to be like the top 2 or 3 picks of the second round. Let's sign this contract and get ready to roll here because I get both sides. Like I would, if I was in his shoes, want to be getting the same type of money as my peers are in the second round. But I would also, in the team side of things, be like, you've not played a down in the NFL. You should just be happy that you were drafted this high and take the money that you are getting from us, right? But with Jonah being unsigned still, this now starts to get things rolling. And it also kind of points towards maybe the Dolphins do not have to give him a fully guaranteed deal. Remember, he was the 37th overall pick, very early in the second round after Miami traded up from pick 48 to go get Savaiinaea. They made that deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think there is a thought process here, if you will, about the money, because it's not like they're debating over how much or how little he should be paid. There is slotted contracts for players in the NFL draft. The slotted deal that Jonah will get for being the 37th overall pick when it is signed is 4 years, $11.3 million. The only thing that we are fighting over and why there is a holdup is because the guaranteed money, as I mentioned with Schlesinger and Higgins, they got fully guaranteed deals. Collins being signed to 88% guaranteed, although it is a massive jump up from the last year's 43rd pick, that is still like what we're fighting over here. It's not how much Jonah's going to get, it's how much of it is guaranteed, right? So now that we have another second round pick that is signed that is not fully guaranteed, I think that will start to get the ball rolling, hopefully sooner rather than later for Miami and Jonah. Make the prediction for me. What is it? July 17th. Will Jonah sign before August? We got 2 weeks before the month turns. Will he be under contract by then? I sure hope so. You make the call. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I say yes. Maybe I'm optimist. A couple days ago, I said I was starting to get worried about the Savaiinaea situation with Miami, because how important he is to this team, as he is projected to be a starting offensive guard, replacing Liam Eichenberg, which just moving on from Liam is a win in itself. But this is such a game changer with the 49ers making this signing. And I did want to actually look at a different part of this, because not only is this going to get the ball rolling, hopefully, but it also gives us an idea of what Jonah's contract may actually look like. We know what the full money is, 11.3 over 4 years, but the guaranteed. Let's just say, because I would say the 37th pick and the 43rd pick are very close, maybe you could see the same type of percentage guaranteed in Jonah Savaiinaea's contract. Let's say it is. 88% of his deal is guaranteed. Well, that means he will get $9.9 million guaranteed of his $11.3 million. That is pretty good if you ask me. And I think that he should be fine with that. Like, out of his rookie contract, only 1.4 million of it isn't guaranteed. But if he plays well and is with the Dolphins throughout the entire contract, well, then all $11.3 million that he has on his books will actually come to him. The point is, let's get this done. If I have to give 90% guaranteed, whatever. But now that we have another second round pick signed that isn't fully guaranteed, it should signify, all right, let's stop with this bull crap. It's not going to be fully guaranteed. Let's get this deal done. And if I'll be honest, like, I wouldn't even be that upset if it was fully guaranteed because it's not my money. It won't change his cap hit. And I just think he is so important to this team, not only this year, but for the future, that I don't want to get things started off on the wrong foot here, like you see a Shamar Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's get this done, make both sides happy, and get football back into the main equation. But this also does spark a larger conversation about where Miami will stand in their cap situation after signing Jonah to his rookie contract. Because right now, Miami has close to $2.8, $2.9 million in cap space. And then after the signing of Jonah, the $2 million cap hit he will possess, which is still very low, the money for Miami will go about to $9.64 million in space. That's what Omar Kelly says. There's different other places that signify something else, which we'll explain here in a little bit of a moment here. But as you see with what Kelly was saying, there is not a ton of cap space that Miami has right now. And you could thank Minkah Fitzpatrick for that. We'll explore that here in a second. And that's what is coming up next on the show. We're going to look at the cap space and how it actually is not great for Miami whatsoever. But I got to show some love to our sponsor on today's show. That is Mando, the whole body deodorant that I trust to make sure I'm smelling right at all times. And summer is in full swing. And boy, is it hot. The heat means more sweat. And more sweat equals more stink potential. You've got to be ready, and I'm not messing around with my deodorant. And I have great news. Mando has just launched something that takes sweat control to the next level, introducing the Mando Deodorant Plus Sweat Control Solid Stick. It's double protection. Finally, you get the odor control you love with Mando, plus powerful sweat control. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Usually, the product that you can't take out of my hands is the deodorant wipes. It's so effective on the go. I was just in Boston this past weekend. The deodorant wipes were with me because if I'm traveling or just even out running errands and I feel like I need a little bit of an update in terms of stink protection, Mando's always got me covered, but it also gives me a nice little ease to my mind with that sweat control solid stick before I leave the house. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code CHAT. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. Mando, links in the description and comments of today's video. Let's segue back over to the cap space that Miami really does not have. Just about a week ago, we talked about how Miami has close to $11, $12 million in cap space. Well, right now, there's been differentiating publications with different numbers, but if you go on Spot Track and you go on Over the Cap, it's $1.9 million for Miami. I know that tweet I just showed from Omar Kelly says it's just about a little bit different at 2.9, and then it will go down to 900,000 once Jonah signs his contract. But I'm going to take Spot Track and Over the Cap for what they are because they do this every single day for a living, and it's 1.9 mil. And that's not good because we know Miami needs to sign something here. And you might be wondering, how did the cap space take such a large dip? Well, the Minkah Fitzpatrick acquisition actually took way more out of the cap than I think I anticipated. because there was money that Miami had to spend. And then with Jalen Ramsey leaving, you're like, okay, the Dolphins were supposed to have $23, $24 million in cap space. How did it get so low? Well, Minka's cap hit actually was way higher than I thought it was going to be. It's $15.5 million. And you look at the cap hit for Darren Waller as well, but it's $2 million. So when you think of what Miami could have had in cap savings, and then you think about how that has changed after the cap hits that are currently listed on Spot Track and Over the Cap for both these two new players, it has just completely wiped out what Miami would have liked to have in terms of their space. And it does raise a question to me in terms of, is the plan no longer to sign a cornerback? Because obviously, if they traded Ramsey just for a draft pick, you would have assumed they were going to sign one and use that cap space that we just alluded to. But maybe Chris Grier in this front office is thinking, we added Minkah Fitzpatrick back. That gives us a more versatile defense with more playable safeties, to where maybe we do not need to sign a cornerback because we have Melifanu, Ashton Davis, McMorris, Campbell, Trader Jr., Minkah, and that will help offset the issues we have at corner. So maybe they view Minkah Fitzpatrick as more of a cornerback addition, at least by helping the safety room, instead of having to go out and sign a legit corner that is still on the open market. And before we round out today's show, I want to ask this. Will Miami ultimately sign a corner in NFL free agency? Type sign, or S for sign, type P for pass. Now, I do think Miami still has the capability of creating cap space if they choose to sign a corner. These are 5 players that I do not anticipate making the 53-man roster, and Miami could carry them throughout the entire preseason if they wanted to, or they could release a couple of them now and sign a corner if they were worried about that corner they were targeting getting signed by a different team. We have long talked about Jake Bailey. Why is he still on the roster? Is it really necessary to carry 2 punters right now? Just release Jake Bailey, save the $1.9 million in cap space, because we know that Ryan Stonehouse is going to be the punter for this football team during the season due to his relationship with the special teams coordinator, Craig Aukerman. We know Channing Tindall is likely going to be cut. Quentin Bell's a bubble guy. Artie Burns, I don't anticipate anything. And Eric Ezukama has had more than opportunities that he deserves at this point to remain on this roster. The point is, you can create $6.5 million in cap space if you release these 5 players today. And I know you want bodies for camp, and you probably don't want to risk having to play other guys and have them getting hurt, but you are going to need some space entering the season. And if we're going to be honest, Miami may take the cap space they create by cutting those guys from 90 to 53 players and take the money into the season. Chris Grier has rarely ever carried less than $10 million of cap space going into an NFL season, just in case he has to sign people or make trades during the NFL season. But my goodness, this team still needs another corner. And I don't care about the Minkah Fitzpatrick addition. To me, you need to add another legit corner. I like the safety room. I like how versatile it will be. I like the different looks that Anthony Weaver can throw out there. But if we seriously are going to run Storm Duck and Cam Smith on the boundary, that's going to be absolutely brutal. I'm having a hard time finding faith. And I know that it's hard for me to say it's the worst cornerback room in the NFL. I think it is clearly number 32 out of 32 teams, because so many of these guys are unproven and we don't really know what they are, like Jason Marshall Jr., like Storm Duck to a degree. But Cam Smith, he's stunk. Why are we expecting good things from these guys? To me, you always got to undersell and overdeliver. And I would rather believe these guys are going to be bad and them impress and surprise me than come up here and spew positive thoughts about how they're going to play and then they actually suck. So I think they're going to be bad. I hope I'm wrong. I have a hard time believing I'm going to be wrong because these guys have just not proven that they're NFL corners outside of Kader Kohou. That'll do it for today's show. Make sure you are subscribed for more Dolphins daily coverage. And when Jonah signs that contract that we alluded to earlier in the show, we will certainly make a video about that. So stay locked in here. And as always, go Fins.